Discover the incredible journey, how a hidden nurse changed a lonely CEO's life in just 30 days. Tom's life felt like a high-speed train that had derailed. Once, he was a rising star in Chicago's tech scene, all gleaming glass towers and bustling boardrooms. But after his painful divorce, he found himself marooned atop that same glass tower, staring at a city pulsing with life, yet he felt miles away. The laughter of friends faded to whispers, and family connections unraveled like threadbare fabric. Loneliness wrapped around him like a heavy blanket, suffocating in cold. One rainy afternoon, a sharp pain shot through his chest. With an urgency that surprised him, Tom found himself at a local community clinic, a place he had rarely thought about. As he walked through the sliding doors, a wave of emotions washed over him: anxiety, confusion, and an unwelcome sense of vulnerability. That's when he met Sarah. She emerged from behind the reception desk, her sun-kissed skin glistening under the fluorescent lights, her warm eyes filled with compassion. "Take a seat, sir," she said, her gentle voice grounding him amidst his whirlwind of thoughts. As she examined him, Tom's hardened facade began to crack. Sarah had seen hardship, her heart worn on her sleeve as she fought for a community that many ignored. She approached her work with a fierce dedication, bringing unseen warmth into a cold world. The first few days were awkward. Tom viewed Sarah with skepticism, peering through the lens of his privilege. And Sarah? She wrestled with her own bias, questioning how the world of successful CEOs could ever understand the burdens of the underserved. Yet as their days intertwined, misunderstandings gave way to a shared humanity. Each time Sarah checked in on him, she brought a piece of the world he had long neglected: stories of families struggling, seeking hope in moments of despair. "You wouldn't believe what I see every day," she told him, her voice tinged with passion. "People here fight for their next meal. They share what little they have." With each passing week, Tom's perspective shifted. He stopped seeing Sarah as an employee and started viewing her as a friend. His meticulous corporate armor began to melt away as he opened up about his former life, revealing layers of loneliness and ambition that had suffocated him. He realized that his relentless pursuit of success had built walls around him. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue, but there was no escape from reality. As their friendship blossomed into something deeper, Tom faced a crossroads. A lucrative business opportunity loomed, its glitter irresistible. Meanwhile, Sarah's own life was plunging into chaos, her ailing mother needing support urgently. His heart twisted in knots as he weighed his options. Would he dive back into the world of ambition that had almost cost him his happiness? Or would he step out of his comfort zone, risking it all to stand beside Sarah as she navigated her own storm? With so much hanging in the balance, Tom's journey felt like an emotional roller coaster. Just when he thought he had a grasp on redemption, a question loomed larger than life. Could he find true connection and meaning amidst the tangled threads of his past, or would he retreat back to the solitary existence he had known for far too long? Tom sat in his car, the engine purring softly, but his mind raced like a wild stallion. The rain had subsided, leaving the streets glistening, illuminated by the city lights. He could see the sharp reflections of the skyscrapers dance on the wet asphalt, a reminder of the life he had built, the successes that defined him. But in that moment, those very successes felt hollow, an echo of what they used to be. The pull of the lucrative business opportunity nagged at him, but so did his concern for Sarah. He thought back to her weary smile, the way her fingers brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear. It was an intimate gesture that pierced through the isolation he had endured for far too long. He couldn't just let her navigate her struggles alone. With every ounce of determination, he dialed her number. Each tone rang louder than the last in his mind. He imagined her voice, the warmth wrapping around him like a soothing blanket. "Hey, it's me," he said, his heart pounding. "Tom." Her surprise was palpable. "Is everything okay?" "Yeah, I just wanted to check in on you. Things are tough at home, but you're sweet for calling." How about you? Struggling to find the words, he realized he was eager to show her he meant it. I've got some decisions to make. But I want to help. Let us talk. Face to face. Sarah hesitated. Are you sure? I don't want to drag you into my problems. No, it's not just about you, he replied, feeling the stakes rise. I want to be there for you. Her heartwarming laugh broke through his anxieties. All right, let us meet at the cafe in about an hour? Tom agreed, feeling a flicker of hope ignite within him. Maybe he wasn't as lost as he feared. As he made his way to the cafe, each block seemed to draw him closer not just to Sarah, but to a version of himself he had long buried. A version that felt alive, vulnerable, and genuinely connected. When he strode inside, the sweet smell of brewing coffee enveloped him, mingling with the light chatter of customers. His eyes searched for Sarah. She sat at a corner table, her head hunched over a laptop. The lines of fatigue on her face did nothing to diminish her beauty, if anything, it shaded her with a strength he couldn't overlook. Hey, he began, sliding into the chair opposite her. You look exhausted. You should take a break. Between helping mom and work, it's been a whirlwind, she admitted, rubbing her temples. But I can tackle it. I believe you. But you don't have to do it all alone, Tom offered. We can figure this out together. Sarah glanced up, uncertainty flickering across her face. And your business opportunity? What about that? It can wait. The simplicity of his words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken implications. For the first time in a long while, Tom felt a genuine sense of purpose, anchoring him far more firmly than any career success ever could. You're really willing to put your plans on hold for me? Sarah asked, her voice cracking slightly. It's not just for you. It's for us a chance to connect, to help each other out. As their eyes locked, the weight of shared burdens shifted. In that small cafe, among the clanking cups and murmuring patrons, something profound began to grow between them. Just then, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, her brow furrowing. A text from her brother flashed before her eyes. Tom, before she could finish, the cafe door swung open with a loud creak, and a tall figure entered, a look of determination on his face. Tom didn't know why, but an uneasy feeling settled in his stomach. Who was this unexpected stranger, and what would he bring into the fragile world Tom was trying to build with Sarah? The tension in the air thickened, pulling at the strings woven between them. Tom's gaze drifted toward the entrance, his heartbeats loud against the backdrop of soft cafe chatter. The stranger was tall, with a strong jaw and unyielding eyes that scanned the room as if searching for something or someone. Tom's muscles tensed, feeling the sharp edge of nerves prick at him. Who is that? He whispered, glancing back at Sarah. Her eyes widened for a brief moment, mirroring his concern. I don't know, she murmured, shifting in her seat. Maybe just a customer. But something in Tom's gut told him this man was different. As the figure walked closer, the barista behind the counter greeted him with a nod of recognition. That somehow turned the stranger from benign to suspicious in Tom's mind. Sarah. The man's voice cut through Tom's thoughts as he approached their table. There you are. I've been trying to reach you. Sarah's voice trailed off, her brows knitting together. What are you doing here? Tom straightened up, forcing himself to keep his expression neutral, while a mix of frustration and protectiveness pooled inside him. He didn't know this guy, but the way Ryan's eyes completely overlooked him made him feel defensive. He wished he could disappear into the shadows, to hide from the sudden confrontation blossoming between them. I thought you could use some help, Ryan replied, glancing at Tom with barely contained disdain. Look, things have gotten serious at home, and I didn't want you going through this alone. You need someone you can rely on. I appreciate it, but Sarah started, but Ryan cut her off. No, you don't understand. It's not just your responsibility anymore. I'm here to help. I'll take care of everything, he insisted, his voice rising with urgency. Tom's heart pounded harder, each word from Ryan striking deeper. Did she really need him? Was she trying to handle it all without him? Tom bit back his frustration, Feeling the tension rising around them like an electric current, Sarah shifted uncomfortably in her seat. "Look, Ryan," Ryan interrupted again, turning to him, finally addressing his presence. "I know you mean well, but this isn't your battle. You have your own life to get back to." Tom hated the way his words felt like an attack. "With all due respect," he managed, his voice steady but taut, "I'm not leaving her side. If she needs help, I want to be the one to give it." The eyes of the cafe patrons flicked toward their table, the atmosphere thick with the unspoken weight of a showdown. Tom could sense the weight of decisions pressing down on Sarah, her emotions hanging in the balance. He wanted nothing more than to reach across the table and hold her hand, assure her they could face anything together. "Who are you even to say that?" Ryan challenged, stepping closer. "This isn't just a fleeting thing for her. This is family. And you think I don't care?" Tom shot back, the protective fire blazing in his chest. "I'm not running away just because things get tough." "Neither am I," Sarah finally interjected, her voice rising with a strength that surprised them all. "I'm tired of feeling like I'm stuck between you two." The moment hung, charged with emotions both palpable and raw. Tom watched Sarah's eyes, grappling with her fears and uncertainty. He desperately wanted to show her that his intention was pure, that their connection was worth fighting for. As Ryan opened his mouth to respond, Tom caught a glimpse of a deeper struggle within Sarah. He knew the conversation was far from over, and what lay ahead would be the true test of their bond. But just then, the cafe door opened again, and a young woman burst through, her face flushed and urgent. "I need help," she cried, her voice cracking. The cafe fell silent as stunned faces turned to her in shock. Tom and Sarah exchanged glances, caught in a web of impending chaos. Suddenly, their battle for connection was overshadowed by something larger than all of them. What kind of help did this stranger need, and how would it shake up their already fragile moment? The young woman stood at the entrance, her wild curls framing a face filled with desperation. Her chest rose and fell rapidly, as though she had run a marathon to reach them. Anxiety rippled through the cafe, the electric silence thickening the air. "Please," she continued, looking around at the bewildered patrons, her voice wavering. "Someone has to help. I saw an accident just outside, and there are people who need medical attention. A kid is hurt bad." Tom's heart leaped into his throat. In that instant, everything else faded. Ryan, Sarah, their tense battle, it all blurred into the background. His instincts kicked in. He shot a glance at Sarah, whose eyes widened with alarm. "Wait here," he said to her. Without waiting for a response, he rushed toward the woman. "Lead the way. I can help." Tom's legs felt light, and adrenaline surged as he pushed through the cafe door. The bustling street outside was filled with the sounds of chaos, sirens howling in the distance, voices raised in panic. He spotted a small crowd gathered near a vehicle that looked crumpled, an accident scene radiating a heavy energy he couldn't ignore. The woman followed closely, her expression a mix of fear and determination. "They aren't moving," she said, pointing toward the ground. "I think they're unconscious." "Show me," Tom urged, moving swiftly but carefully through the cluster of onlookers. As Tom arrived at the scene, he forced himself to focus. A boy lay on the pavement, his face pale, eyes shut. Next to him, another person was crumpled over, a teenager, an older sibling perhaps, holding onto the boy with all their strength, their face streaked with tears. "Is anyone here a doctor?" someone shouted. The question hung in the air like a dark cloud, unanswered. Tom dropped to his knees next to the boy. The moment felt surreal. Everything he had been focused on, his challenges with Sarah, Ryan's interference, all of it stepped to the side as he assessed the situation. "What happened?" he asked, glancing back at the teenager. "There was a car. We were just crossing the street." Their voice quivered, and tears spilled down their cheeks. "I don't know if he's okay." Tom's heart raced. He took a deep breath to steady himself. "Listen to me," he said, grounding his tone. "I need you to hold his head still. I'm going to check for signs of consciousness." He leaned in, calling out to the boy softly. "Hey there, can you hear me?" No response. His hands shook, but he forced them to be steady. All the training from the past, every first aid class flashed in front of his mind. He could do this, he had to. Don't leave us. The teenagers sobbed, and the panic in their voice echoed in Tom's ears. Just stay with me, buddy, he murmured, checking the boy's pulse. It was faint but there. Relief washed over him, fading into determination. Suddenly, he felt a hand on his shoulder. I called an ambulance, the young woman said, her wide eyes reflecting concern. They're on their way. Just keep him talking. Good, Tom responded, trying to maintain calmness. Can you tell me your name? He asked the boy, knowing it might help restore some awareness. As Tom continued to talk to the boy, he barely noticed Sarah and Ryan joining the scene, their argument lost to the urgency surrounding them. Ryan's face had gone pale, and Sarah squeezed through the crowd, her eyes scanning the situation. But Tom's world had narrowed down to that boy on the pavement, fighting against everything he had fought for himself just moments ago. What if he couldn't save him? The weight of that thought nearly crushed him, but he pushed it aside. He couldn't let fear take control, he had to be strong for more than just himself now. Hang in there, he whispered, squeezing the boy's hand. Help is coming. In that moment, he felt the bonds of his own struggle fade. The chaotic energy around him connected them all in a way he never expected. Tom looked up at the gathering crowd, their faces a mixture of hope and fear. It was a moment that shifted everything, a reminder of the fragility of life and how quickly it could all change. What was this feeling inside of him? The air seemed charged with something greater than just fear. It was a call for connection, a plea for solidarity. He glanced back at Sarah, who stood on the edge of the scene, emotions flickering across her face. Tom! She shouted. Her voice cut through the chaos, but he barely noticed. His focus was now singular, his heart pounded with a fierce determination. But amidst the unfolding crisis, one question hung in the air, heavy and ominous: could he truly rise to the challenge? And as sirens drew closer, would the deeper truths about his relationship with Sarah and Ryan force him to confront fears he had kept buried? The wail of sirens grew louder, slicing through the air with urgency. When the ambulance finally arrived, a team of paramedics sprang into action. Their professionalism brought a flicker of relief to Tom, but the fear still gripped his heart. Step back, please. One paramedic called as they rushed to the scene, their voices steady and clear. Tom complied, feeling the tremor of adrenaline diffuse slightly as they took over. He stood aside, still gripping the boy's hand as the paramedics checked for injuries. The teenager looked to him, eyes wide and desperate. Is he going to be okay? Please help him. Tom didn't know what to say. He had no medical training beyond basic first aid, and suddenly, all his confidence felt like it was slipping away. He could see the boy's chest rising and falling, but not with ease. Each breath seemed strained. They're doing everything they can, he said, hoping his words would bring some comfort. The medic next to him glanced over, needle and equipment in hand. We're going to need him stabilized quickly. Can you tell us his name? Tom, can you hear me? The medic asked, crouching next to him, clearly focused. We need to know who he is. Jake, the teenager replied, voice breaking. His name is Jake. Okay, Jake, we're here to help you. The paramedic reassured him. She began relaying information to her colleague while they prepared to lift the boy carefully onto a stretcher. Tom's heart ached watching the scene unfold. He had been so single-minded about saving this kid that he hadn't noticed the shifting dynamics around him, the tension that still lingered between Sarah and Ryan. Were they still arguing somewhere? Did they even know how to step out of their own drama in a moment like this? Tom. Sarah's voice broke through again, more frantic now as she pushed through the crowd. What happened? Are they okay? I don't know, Tom admitted, fighting to keep his voice steady. They're working on him. Tom turned back just as the paramedic slid Jake onto the stretcher. We'll take it from here, one said, looking him directly in the eyes. You did good. As Jake was wheeled away, panic filled the air. Tom felt a swell of helplessness rise within him while the crowd began to disperse, murmuring their concern. He couldn't shake the feeling that their lives had intersected for a reason, that he had been thrust into this moment to learn something, maybe even to grow. Is there anything we can do? The young woman who had initially drawn him outside stepped closer, earnest and trembling. I don't know. Tom felt so small, so lost for words, a wave of emotion threatening to topple him. All his resolve to be strong now seemed a facade. I just wanted to help. Then let us stay here, okay? We can wait for them to return. There is strength in numbers, she offered, warmth flickering in her eyes. He could see she felt the weight of the situation too. Tom nodded, feeling a mix of gratitude and frustration. He desperately wanted to fix things, to make it all right, and yet, here he stood, unsure of his own next move. Sarah finally came up to him, her expression softened, worry replacing anger. What do we do now? She asked, her tone sincere. We wait, Tom replied, by now aware that their own battles had to take a back seat to this pivotal moment. As they huddled together, the silence wrapped around them like a heavy cloak. Each second stretched, full of uncertainty and unvoiced fears. What would they learn from this? In the face of life and death, it seemed everything else fell away. Personal grievances no longer mattered as they shared this experience, but then came another shock, a loud voice from within the crowd. Hey, what happened to the driver? It echoed ominously, reminding them that there were sides to every story, and not all of them were good ones. Tom felt his heart race again. The reality of the situation hit him like a punch. There was far more to this accident than he assumed. If he wanted to be a part of this community, a part of Jake's recovery, he would have to confront the truth, no matter how ugly it might be. As questions buzzed in the air, Tom realized the real challenge lay ahead. Would he be ready to face the shadows hiding beyond this moment? The murmurs around them intensified, a restless wave of curiosity and concern. Tom's heart pounded as he looked at Sarah, then turned to the crowd. Faces twisted in uncertainty mirrored his own feelings. Everybody wanted answers, but no one seemed to have any. What do you think happened? Sarah asked softly, her voice now barely above a whisper. I don't know, Tom replied, his own voice shaky. But it can't be good. A commotion erupted further back in the crowd, drawing their attention. A man, his shirt stained with grease, was trying to push his way to the front. He looked frantic, eyes darting like they were searching for someone he had lost. I was just driving, the brakes failed. Someone call 911. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. He yelled, his voice thick with panic. The crowd fell silent, a chill settling over them. Tom felt a knot form in his stomach. The driver. He had been so focused on Jake that he had overlooked the one who caused it all. The paramedics rushed forward to speak with the man, but he was anything but calm. Stay back. You don't understand. The driver pleaded as he flailed his arms, desperation lacing his words. I was trying to get help. I swear. And now, I might have stopped. This isn't helping. One of the paramedics stepped in front of him, firm yet compassionate. You're going to make it worse. Tom felt torn. Here was a man spiraling out of control, his actions leading to chaos. And then there was Jake, battling for his life. He could feel the weight of both situations pressing down on him like a heavy stone. How could he help both of them? Sarah's voice pulled him from his thoughts. We can't just stand here. We should do something. Do what? He shot back, the frustration bubbling within him. What can we possibly do? Maybe talk to him? Find out more. It might help us understand how everything happened, she suggested, her voice steady as it cut through Tom's anger. As much as he wanted to argue, he saw the flicker of determination in her eyes. Maybe she was right. Remembering the calming presence he had once found in difficult moments, he took a deep breath and nodded. They had to uncover the truth behind this chaos. They slowly approached the driver, whose face was now streaked with tears. Just give me a minute, Tom said softly. We want to understand what happened. The driver looked up, his breath ragged. I couldn't stop. I never meant for this to happen. Tom felt the rush of sympathy break through his frustration. We believe you. But we need to know more. Can you tell us exactly what happened? As the driver recounted the moments leading to the accident, Tom felt the knot in his stomach loosen but tighten in different ways. The man's story unfurled in layers of regret, fear, and a haunting sense of powerlessness. Tom realized that every role was tangled up in this one incident, pain rippling outward, affecting everyone. Just as the driver finished, the ambulance's back doors swung open again, revealing the paramedics who had taken Jake away. Their expressions were grim, and the air thickened with dread. "Is he okay?" the teenager nearby cried out, pleading for news. The medic approached with a heavy heart as the crowd held its breath. "Jake is stable now, but he needs immediate surgery." "There are complications." Tom exchanged worried glances with Sarah, feeling the weight of uncertainty pile on. The driver, now overwhelmed with guilt, retreated further, collapsing against a lamppost. Tom suddenly understood something vital: this connection, the intertwining of lives, the shared pain, was a crossroads they couldn't escape. In this moment, confronting the truth was not just about facing shadows. It was about coming together, forging empathy from agony. As the medic continued to explain the circumstances, Tom felt a flicker of determination. No matter the outcome, he realized that they needed to lean on each other now more than ever. In this community, they could find strength. But just as he thought they might navigate this disaster together, a loud bang echoed from down the street, startling everyone. A black SUV skidded to a halt, and the sight of a well-dressed woman emerging from it sent a frenzy through the crowd. What else was there to uncover? Tom thought, dread creeping back in. Tom turned fully toward the scene, eyes wide, prepared to unravel yet another piece of the unimaginable puzzle. Would this woman be a stranger or a key player in Jake's story? The woman stepped out of the SUV, her high heels clicking against the pavement with a harsh rhythm that seemed to reverberate in the air. Her business attire was striking, a stark contrast to the chaos surrounding her. People instinctively parted ways, granting her entry into the thickening crowd. Tom wasn't sure what it was about her presence that felt so commanding, but something about her demeanor hinted at urgency, a sense that she didn't just show up by coincidence. "Excuse me," she called, weaving through the crowd. "Where is the injured boy?" Her voice was sharp yet laced with concern. "We're waiting for news," a woman nearby shouted back, her voice trembling slightly. "The paramedics just took him away." The woman's face tightened. "I'm a nurse. I need to know what's happening." Tom felt a flicker of hope at her declaration. Maybe she could help? But he also sensed the tension that bubbled among the people around him. They were scared, and fears of the unknown swirled like leaves in a storm. The nurse's confidence didn't do much to calm that tempest, either. Rather, it ignited a torrent of questions. The driver, still hunched against the lamppost, looked up, confusion etched deep into his features. "You're a nurse? You think you can do something?" I didn't mean for this to happen." His voice wavered, threading guilt through each word. She turned toward him, and for a moment, Tom saw a glint of compassion in her eyes overshadowing her earlier urgency. "I know you didn't mean for this to happen," she said softly. "But if I can help, I need to find out what's going on." The crowd seemed to hold its breath as conversations fell into hushed whispers. Even Sarah, who had been steadfast and strong beside Tom, appeared drawn into the nurse's resolve. "How do you know him?" the nurse pressed, her focus shifting back to the driver. I was driving," and his words stumbled over themselves, the weight of his admission hanging heavily in the air. "What caused the brakes to fail?" she interrupted, diving deeper into the facts. "Was it an old car? Did you smell burning rubber?" Tom could feel the adrenaline rising in his own chest, urging him forward into the unfolding drama. He stepped closer to the driver, then glanced at Sarah. "Maybe we shouldn't force him," he started, but Sarah shook her head. "Tom, he needs to get it out. We all need to understand." Her grip on his arm was firm, and her gaze persuasive. "Please, just tell us," the nurse urged, gentleness creeping back into her tone. "You could save his life if we know what happened." As the driver took a shaky breath, the sense of dread that had previously blanketed the scene began to part, revealing flickers of hope amidst the shared pain. Tom felt a pulse of warmth. The community was rallying together, confirming that they were in this together. Just as the driver opened his mouth to speak, the crowd suddenly gasped. More headlights flooded the street, each vehicle's approach sending a ripple through the gathering. A second ambulance blared its siren, weaving through the throng. The hope that had started to build was snuffed out. What now? Tom thought, as people began to shuffle backward, uncertainty swirling anew. The nurse's face mirrored his own unease, and he could see the panic begin to seep back into the crowd. Who else is hurt? She asked breathlessly, scanning the vehicles that had appeared as if from nowhere. As the doors flew open, everyone braced themselves. The chaos continued to unfold, and Tom's heart raced. How deep did the web of this disaster go? Who else could be connected to Jake's fate? He gripped Sarah's hand tightly. We need to figure this out. Together, he whispered urgently. But even as he spoke, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were stepping into a storm, and the worst was yet to come. Would they discover the chilling truth before it swallowed them whole? The sirens blared louder, drowning out the whispers of concern that had filled the air just seconds before. A gut-wrenching anxiety gripped Tom as he scanned the crowd. People began to back away from the second ambulance, their faces drawn, a collective fear settling over them like a dark cloud. Stay close, he urged Sarah, squeezing her hand tighter. She nodded, her eyes darting nervously as the stream of EMTs began pouring out of the vehicle, their faces focused, determined. What do we do now? Sarah's voice trembled. Tom didn't have an answer. He stood frozen, watching as the EMTs hustled, shouting instructions, their movements sharp and precise. The air was thick with tension, the stakes rising higher with each frantic second. Hey! The nurse called out, trying to push through the crowd toward the EMS team. I'm a nurse. Can I help? One of the EMTs glanced at her, momentarily taken aback. We've got it under control, he said curtly, but then added, if you're serious, we could use an extra set of hands. She nodded and rushed to join them, leaving a clear path through the crowd behind her. Tom felt a swell of admiration for her bravery, but it quickly turned to dread as he noticed the driver had dropped his head, darkness creeping across his expression. Are you all right? Tom asked, crouching down to catch the man's eye. I didn't mean for this to happen, he repeated, words spilling from his lips like a confession. What do you mean? Sarah pressed, her eyes intense and searching. The driver hesitated, emotions warring across his face. I was distracted on my phone, just for a second, and then his voice broke, choked by guilt. I hit him. I didn't see him crossing the street. There was nothing I could do. The revelation hit Tom hard. Each word felt like an ice-cold slap. The driver's admission opened the floodgates, and he could see that the emotions in the crowd shifted. There were murmurs filled with anger, but they soon transformed into sympathetic glances among those who understood loss and panic. Anyone could have made a mistake, Tom murmured, desperation ringing in his voice. But we need to focus on helping now. As the nurse worked side by side with the EMTs, Tom felt an urge to keep everyone grounded amidst the tsunami of emotions crashing around them. Let us just be there for whoever needs us, he called, trying to coax unity from the chaos. We can't afford to let fear divide us. A few people nodded, their expressions softening just a bit. Sarah stepped closer to Tom, her brow furrowed in concentration. Do you think it's too late? She asked quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Before he could respond, the crowd erupted into shouts. The nurse had returned, urgency returning to her previously calm demeanor. We need to clear a path for the helicopter. Someone's in critical condition. Tom's heart raced. The realization struck him like lightning. Whoever the injured boy was, they were fighting for his life, and it was a battle that hung precariously in the balance. Let us help. Tom urged, feeling a wave of responsibility wash over him. He and a few others rushed to assist in moving aside the onlookers, clearing a path for the emergency responders. As they worked, a voice echoed from the back of the crowd. That boy is my son. It was a man, his face pale and panic-stricken. Time slowed as Tom turned toward him. The pieces began to fall into place, and in that moment, he understood that the unfolding drama had roots deeper than he imagined. There were lives entwined in pain and loss, and each moment mattered. What kind of father was he? What would he do if his child was the one fighting for breath? The crowd turned in unison to face the father, a new sense of urgency igniting in their midst. A thick silence settled as all eyes were on him, every person there keenly aware that hope could slip away at any moment. As he stepped forward, Tom felt heat rising in his chest, and he knew something had shifted. A realization sparked within him, igniting a burning need to uncover the truth, and he could already sense the impending storm tightening its grip. But what lay ahead? Would they break through the darkness together, or would it consume them all? The helicopter blades roared above, drowning out everything else as it swooped in for a landing. Tom's heart thundered in his chest, the weight of the father's desperate cries echoing in his mind. What if it was a child I loved? He thought, the dread washing over him like a cold wave. Tom. Sarah's voice broke through the chaos. She was trembling, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. He turned to her, his throat tight. "Let us just stay focused," he said softly. "He needs us all right now." The crowd, infused with the father's anguish, began to pulse with energy. People stepped back, giving the EMTs room to work, their faces grim but determined. Tom's pulse quickened with each passing second. He glanced back at the driver, who was now leaning against the ambulance, his hands pressed to his forehead, a picture of defeat. Tom felt pity stirring in him, yet the overwhelming sorrow for the father pushed that aside. "Sir," Tom said, walking back to the driver, whose eyes were still glued to the asphalt. "Look, I know this is hard. I can't even imagine what you're feeling, but you need to remain hopeful. Maybe there's still a chance." The driver met Tom's gaze briefly, eyes red-rimmed, a flicker of gratitude breaking through his despair. "I never thought," he started, voice faltering. "I never thought I'd be part of something like this. None of us want to be, but we can either rebuild or remain broken." With that, Tom felt the fire ignite within him, an urge not just to help, but to stand tall for those who felt lost. He nodded and turned back to the unfolding scene. The EMTs were working feverishly now, the helicopter a flurry of urgent activity. The nurse, who had jumped in to help, was directing traffic with sharp authority but also compassion, every bit of her energy poured into saving a life. "Clear!" she shouted, as the doors of the helicopter swung open. Before Tom could catch his breath, he was pulled back into the moment. The area was tense, charged with raw emotion, but it all whispered the same thing: the boy could still be saved. "Come on," he urged the others in the crowd. "Let us show them support, let us hold this space together." Slowly, people began to chant, a simple but powerful mantra of hope. "Stay strong. Stay strong." They linked arms, forming an unbroken line of connection. Tom felt Sarah's warmth beside him, and that small act of solidarity wove through his fear, wrapping him in a shared determination. As moments ticked by, the commotion of the scene faded into the background, replaced by the rhythm of the crowd. Tom became acutely aware of the father, standing helpless on the fringes, and he admired his bravery amidst such torment. "Is he really going to be okay?" the father finally croaked, despair bathing his words in sadness. "That's what we're hoping for," Tom said, his own voice wavering. "We're all hoping together." Suddenly, the helicopter crew began to emerge with something, a stretcher coming forward toward them. Tom's heart raced. With each step they took, the tension coiled tighter in the air. This was it. That moment, the nurse turned back to the crowd, her eyes intense, glistening with something like determination and hope. "We may need you to be louder. Make your strength heard." The crowd surged, voices lifting in united vigor, an echo of humanity that could not be ignored. But amidst the rising cheers and fears, a new thought struck Tom: how far one stranger's mistake had spiraled into all their lives. As moments of anticipation stretched on, Tom felt a wave of resolve wash over him. They could weather this storm together. He finally believed that. Would the outcome ignite further change and connection among them all, or would this chaos unravel the bonds they had forged in desperation? As the medics approached, one thought lingered heavy in the air: maybe the truth they were about to discover would alter everything they thought they understood about kindness. The crowd orbits the stretcher, breaths held tight, hearts beating in sync. Time seems to pause as the medics gently lay the boy down, his frail figure a stark contrast against the heavy equipment. Tom watches, anxiety tightening his chest. Everyone's eyes play the scene out with sacred reverence, each face a canvas of desperation, hope, and fear. Jake's eyes flutter open. A collective gasp sweeps through the crowd as life flickers back into him. A miracle in the midst of heartbreak. The father's anguished cries rise to the surface. Jake. My boy. A wave of emotion crashes over Tom as he locks eyes with Sarah. Her expression mirrors his swelling hope, but also a fear that lingers, the fear of losing this connection they've built, amid the chaos and heartache swirling around them. As the paramedics spring back into action, the nurse stands resolute, her effective guidance a balm to the taut atmosphere. We've got him stabilized, but we need to get him to the hospital now. She commands, her voice slicing through the clamor. Tom and Sarah exchange a knowing glance, a silent understanding woven between them. He realizes that they're both changed by this experience, the scale of their struggles now dwarfed by the gravity of life and death. Let us go with him, Tom exclaims, instinctively moving toward the ambulance with Sarah at his side. The father follows close behind, his desperation now channeling into action. Stay with him, he pleads as they load Jake into the ambulance. No, it's too crowded, a medic retorts. We need to keep the area clear. But Tom isn't deterred. We can't just stand here. I need to know he's going to be okay. His heart pounds, nerves coiling tightly. The moment feels pivotal, like standing at the edge of a cliff, ready to soar or to plummet. The father's voice breaks through the fray. You too. Help him. That's when Ryan, who had moved back to listen quietly amidst his initial bravado, steps forward alongside Tom, finding a shared purpose in this tumultuous moment. We're all on the same team now, he says, a calm overtaking his eyes. The anger that had brewed before diminishes, replaced by something softer, a common humanity. It's a redemption that ripples through the crowd, shouldered burdens now shared rather than isolated. Right. Tom exhales, falling into line. We can do this together. Fueled by newfound resolve, he and Ryan take charge, helping to clear a path. We need space, they call out. Let the paramedics do their jobs. As they shuffle through the mangle of confused faces and frantic bodies, Tom's heart starts to swell with a sense of belonging, a compassionate community lifting each other up. Each heartbeat connecting everyone all at once. The ambulance doors close, sealing Jake inside a mix of hope and fear intertwined. The father's eyes brim with tears, gratitude shining through confusion and chaos. Tom places a reassuring hand on his shoulder, their connection forged from shared trauma. I'm right here with you, he vows. Sarah's hand slips into Tom's, and as they stand together, he feels the electric current of their bond solidifying. In that shared silence, they understand the nature of love. It grows strongest in the most trying storms. As the ambulance speeds away, sirens wailing like a clarion call, Tom watches the city blur past, the glass towers of life reflecting a newfound vision. No longer just success but moments shared, love fought for, connections forged in adversity. In the days that follow, as Jake recovers, a beautiful tapestry of friendship unfurls. Tom, Sarah, Ryan, and the father, all involved in something more significant than any individual aspirations. They work together, sharing laughter and support, weaving a safety net around not just Jake but the lives intertwined around him. Tom glances at his colleagues in the tech world and realizes his worth isn't defined by profits but by connection. He fuels their ideas with empathy, reaching out to the community with initiatives that give back, creating programs to uplift the underserved. And Sarah? She becomes more than a friend, she is his partner in this journey, as together they seek to bridge the gaps, nurturing relationships that matter. In the end, Tom understands he had indeed been on a high-speed train, only it had changed tracks, heading toward a destination he had longed for, yet never anticipated. The world beyond the boardrooms waiting, alive and radiant, full of stories, laughter, and connection, just waiting for him to embrace it. As the sun sets against the Chicago skyline, warm hues of red and gold dancing across the horizon, chance encounters take an unexpected turn. Here's where the incredible journey began, and the adventure is only just getting started. Join us in celebrating such transformative moments daily. You need to subscribe now to dive deeper into heartwarming stories like these. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Did it inspire you? And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see these life-altering transformations.